go.
Hi everybody. Behind me is the water of Booth Bay Harbor in Maine. But on this date, October 18 in 1851, a story associated with the ocean was published, and that would be Moby Dick. After we became independent, we were viewed by Europeans especially as being really rustic, and we didn't have any art or literature or anything aesthetic to offer. We were just going to copy other people. For example, when the Boston State House was built in 1798, in what's known as the Federal style, it used classical Greek and Roman architectural themes, as did Thomas Jefferson when he designed the State House in Virginia in the 1780s. So not really uniquely American at this point. When John Trumbull painted the death of General Warren in 1786, the painting style was pretty classic, but it was an American event. So we're starting to write about our own country or paint about it. Thomas Cole, Oxbow and the Connecticut River, celebrates American landforms and American natural viewpoints. Now, when the daguerreotype came out in France, this shifted how art was presented, because now you can reproduce things in large numbers, like the lithograph is kind of that idea by Currier and Ives. You see that here. These were cheap and they were all over the place, so these images are becoming more mass-produced. Now, when Romanticism hit Europe, it also hit our country, this idea that there's more of an emotional attachment to what goes on. And an example would be The Last of the Mohicans, the book in 1826, where James Fenimore Cooper takes sort of a romantic view of the native peoples and being in nature. Now, transcendentalism is pretty American, New England especially, revolting against the strict sort of Puritan worldview. You look inward to find truth and understanding. An example of this is Walden. Henry David Thoreau, 1854. Go out to nature and reflect and learn things about yourself and about society. And Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, 1855, picks up this theme too. So this is all swirling around culture by the time of Melville. And this also includes the dark side. The Raven is an example of that, Edgar Allan Poe, 1845. And I think we'd all agree that Moby Dick has its dark side too, doesn't it? So Melville was born in New York in 1819. Here's a drawing of his house. The house is long gone, so he lived in New York City as a young man, and then later he moved up to New Bedford, Mass., where he got on a whaling ship. And he was out on a whaling ship for 18 months. And Moby Dick is partly about what it's like to be a whaler. And one of the things about Melville's sailing is he sailed all over the world. Here's a map of where the whales were found in the 1800s. And other writing of his includes tales from the South Seas. Maybe some of you have read those. So here's our event. October 18, 1851, Moby Dick was published. And perhaps you read it in high school. It's partly the search for the white whale, and it's partly just describing how a whale ship works. And it was not popular at the time. Now today, if you go to New Bedford, you can visit the very awesome whaling museum. It's really great, with skeletons and all kinds of whaleboats and things. And in New Bedford are structures that are mentioned in Moby Dick. For instance, this church in New Bedford in the book is called the Whaleman's Chapel. There are some other buildings in New Bedford too. So if you go there, there's a very neat historical district. It's on the National Register. Walk around and imagine these young men ready to go out on a whale ship. And if you're ever in New York City and you get up to Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx, you can see where Melville's buried. Not really appreciated at the time, but later considered a master of American literature.